Okay, good morning everyone, Rod Cullerton. I just want to keep these updates coming through, although I should be resting. This broken leg is quite uncomfortable, but anyway, I'm trying to soldier on, so I just can't sort of let this go quiet really. I just got to give some really good news to everyone. Another gentleman in Victoria who I have a lot to do with, and he has been keeping a close check and asking and so forth. As of, I got a text from him this morning, and that text was very pleasing. He has now gone back home to his farm in Victoria with what we know, and how does it, I just find it very encouraging really, if anything can come out of what I've been able to achieve, not only as a federal senator but as an individual who participated in a Senate inquiry, was asked to go to the Novotel Wentworth and wrote the terms of reference to the Royal Commission into the banking. I feel very proud that if I can get one or two, it's a bit like if you can save a life, you've done your job. I do believe there's many more to come, and that doesn't come from a belief in between these two ears that you can see, or hopefully if you can see. As we get older they seem to disappear. Yeah, can I just say good on you Australia, and good on the men now having some comfort and some courage to stand up, because I can tell you what, we've been pretty much sitting on our ass for a long time, but it's like I always say, if someone takes it past the first knuckle with me, it's game on. And if anyone doesn't believe me, I can give you my doctor's number, and he'll vouch for that. But look, all jokes aside, another one has returned home to his property. The police have informed that they are not getting involved. It's now civil, so we're getting that message out there. But I'm going to give a phone number because a lot of people are coming through, and with what we've got now, we believe that we have the law on our side and can fix it, and definitely fraud on title. There is no question about that. Misrepresentation right through to bluff whoever the borrower was on these contracts in loan books and so forth, because the actual so-called creditor wasn't the true creditor, didn't have a legal right to the assets and so on. So we've been able to work that out. But the fundamental point is where they fail. It's a bit like this Australian government, if the Australian government's not under the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act, well, it fails. What these lawyers are doing, and I will name these lawyers, I'm going to name them because I've got the law on my side now. Estelle Blewett, Kirsty Sutherland, David Johns. Now those two are from Cause Chambers Westgarth. Philip Wilson, who took the authorised the declaration that the entity that was taking properties, certainly in my case, which I'm not allowed to talk about, how do I best say it, I've got a violence restraining order on me over my property, so I'm not allowed to talk about it, but I can mention it. So I'm mentioning my property, but I'm not talking about my property. And I was hoping that would all been done, but at the first hearing, one of the or two of the so-called owners, inverted commas, tried to run down my barrister in the street, and she was unable to go back to the court and finish it off, which is quite serious. But one always says when one may have a guilty conscience, one does things out of scale, I suppose. But getting back to Cause Chambers Westgarth, because it's very interesting that these so-called orders that they tried to bluff us with and con us with and so forth, they only ever put the legal firm as the registered address. No lawyer would sign off it in his personal name. So in actual fact, there's no controlling mind that actually empowers the application anyway, and that's why a lot of these things didn't make their way before the court. They were just basically picked up by Bay Corp, come out because they didn't have a legal right to the asset, to try and bluff us, because once you bluff it and you roll over and get a belly scratch, that is when you consent and the law of equity no longer applies. But the real issue now is the Torrens system, is the accuracy and integrity of our Torrens system. This is the system that was adopted by Torrens. He was a fellow in South Australia, and it was adopted by the states for the accuracy and integrity of our property rights, because property rights are very, very serious, and indefeasible rights are what stops someone just coming onto your property and doing whatever they want to do. So that's the beautiful thing about property rights, and that's why, you know, we've just seen a lot of cyber hacking and whatever. We don't want our titles to go to digital titles. We need our paper, not form and substance. So I'm going to give a phone number because oh no, I've just bloody dropped it, and I'm on crutches, and now I've just dropped the bloody number. Just hang on a minute. I may come back, I may not. Just hang on a minute. I've got to drop. Bloody hell. Anyway, I've done it. Hang on. Okay, I'm going to give a number, and I don't want people to ring me. I want people to text me. 04 38 979 143. You wouldn't believe it, because it's falling in the wet grass. It just the paper just pulled apart. So hopefully that's the right number. I've got a phone. 0438, yes it is, 0438 979 143. Well look, if you believe you're a person that's been subject to, you know, toe cutters coming out to your property and throwing you off, well then send me a text. And look, I'll be honest, if people, and I want you to say whether you're a member of the political party, Great Australian Party, because they will be the ones that I will deal with first, because obviously they've been supporting me through the party. So you will need to say whether you're a political member of a registered, a current registered member of the Great Australian Party, okay? So I will get my team onto this. So the steps that I'm taking now, so I've named those lawyers, and another one is Melanie Bowmanis, righto? Melanie Bowmanis. I'm foreshadowing filing criminal complaints. I'll also be doing against Roland Andrew Davis, who had a big input into this, as to why they were using certain orders that didn't apply to a monetary judgment. And that violates the Torrens system. So effectively our whole state now may be subject to a serious compromise. That's the word, compromised. So our land registry system in Western Australia, if not Australia, has been severely compromised by these particular individuals, and I will be filing a complaint with the Legal Practices Board, because I feel it is in my duty, under my knowledge, that I have to do this on behalf of all West Australians, whether you love me, like me or otherwise, because the integrity and the accuracy of our Torrens title system here in Western Australia has been severely compromised through the actions of trying to enforce defunct documents in order to basically obtain real property. Now, that's what I'm doing. Now, if you are someone that may have been subject to a property seizure delivery order when they came out or whatever, reach out to us, because if you stood up for your rights, which what we did, we threw them out, and then we put a receiver's car up on the shearing shed roof nicely, and ended all contracts with any party that may have been claiming to act for the bank, then you at law remain the legal owner of that property, simply because if they've used the wrong instrument, there can never be a valid transfer. That's just the way the system works. But if you didn't kick back and you consented, well, that poses a problem. However, it doesn't get rid of the misrepresentation. So you would then, the state would be perhaps liable to pay compensation, and that's where we've got to go. So I'm also writing to the Minister for Lands. The Minister for Lands was Terry Redmond, the former Minister for Lands. He was made very well aware of this with the Liberal Party and did nothing about it, sat on his hand and did absolutely FA. And for these sort of fellows, they get paid a lot of money and do nothing. But now this has been able to, we've been able to lay the barbed wire across the paddock and catch the hock of one of these fellows, and now we can see, we can actually see that they're getting tangled, and the harder they're kicking, the tighter the wire's going. So so we're on really solid ground. So that number is available. I don't want you ringing me. I want you to text me. I want to make sure that you're a member, and then either myself or one of my team will reach out to you. So far we have 2 back. Also we have banks ringing certain people to have an urgent meeting. So what we're doing is very good. The police, I believe, now are well informed of how they were also misrepresented, and I do believe criminal actions will be filed against these individuals, because they've actually misled the police and brought them into this. And I just wish police would understand as a constable their role. First of all, they have to establish a fact before they can act. And secondly, they have to, as a constable, they don't have to take a direction from a high-ranking sergeant. And I think a lot of the legal advice that they're getting is not the right legal advice, and they need to inquire themselves and go into it and understand people's property rights and so forth, because a police officer just can't rock up to your property, cut your fences, because he can be done for trespass and criminal damage, and we have a lawful excuse as the registered proprietor on the property to defend our assets. There's nothing, we can grab a police car and throw it back over the fence. That's a lawful excuse. He's not meant to be there, he's not going. We could grab it and do that, but we don't want to cause too much damage. But in cases, some guys have rammed the receiver's cars, and the courts have turned around and said, well, he had a right to do it. You wouldn't go, you wouldn't adhere, and he feared for his assets, so he protected them. So come on, Australia, get off your backsides. If you really understand the law and have some faith in some certain people, now we're getting remedy because we're walking the walk. We're not sitting back talking about it or what. So look, I encourage all the trolls to come onto this Facebook site. Come on, bring it on. But when you come and make your statements, just bring some evidence. Come on, bring some evidence. And everyone says, well, Culleton, you haven't got your farm back. Well, guess what? Here's the answer to that. I've never lost it. So I don't have to get it back. I've never lost it. I've just been prevented from returning home by the West Australian Police. And the West Australian Police actually encouraged these so-called owners to put a violence restraining order on me so they could legally, now we're saying that you need a violence restraint. They could legally bring out 54 cops to protect the asset. Well, guess what? That asset is still mine, which poses another problem with this bankruptcy that they're trying to hang on me. Now, with what we discovered, fraud on title, we're going behind the judgment. Okay. I did say I was having a day of rest today. I'm leaning against a tree. I've got to try and crutch it back to the bus. But if you want to get in contact with me, text me. If you feel like you've been inappropriately dealt with, or I should say dealt with inappropriately. And we also got to remember what the finding of the Royal Commission was, where the receivers had violated farmers' wives back at the Senate inquiry, where farmers 1 a week were suiciding, where they shot their dogs, shot their cattle. Now we're coming home. We're coming home. I love that song. We're coming home. So, and rightly so. This is not this might be Australia, but what's been happening is un-Australian, and I'm about to just bring it back. So anyone that wants to vote for Rod Culleton in the Senate, please do so, because I'd love to get in there and finish this completely off. Anyone that wants to vote for William Bay, please do so. He's in Queensland. Please donate to our party. And Rob Fazzino in Victoria. We may have one for New South Wales in the Senate. We do have one for Hasluck here, Dawn Kelly. We need you to start putting some skin in the game, helping us, because